and that the manufacturer keeps liability and responsibility for ensuring that appropriate remedies are taken. However, as I said, my specialization is rather on the second part of the presentation, so the wider, horizontal key that is there to help and work synergetically with the sector-specific rules. I've tried really to be synthetic for the purpose of today's presentation. There are even more legal instruments than the ones that I'm presenting here, but I would consider to be essential for you to know for business-to-consumer transaction, the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, a completely cross-sectorial piece of legislation that applies to all economic sectors of activity around Europe, and the Unfair Contract Terms Directive, equally applicable everywhere. And for business-to-business transaction, the Misleading and Comparative Advertising Directive. Why do I draw your attention to these directives in particular? Because it's from this directive that you stem what I call, the 4 key pillars of things that any trader operating in the EU, and I stress, any trader operating in the EU, these regulations apply also to third country-based traders that market their products in Europe. So we don't have extraterritorial legislation, but a legislation that applies also to third country nationals whenever they want to propose their goods, services and offers in Europe. Well, first of all, they're all required to act with a degree of professional diligence commensurate to their field of activity. If you are working in the area of health, I would say that the degree of professional diligence expected is particularly high. Human health is an extremely precious good, the most precious of all, I would say, protected also legally again by the Charter of Fundamental Rights. So it requires a high level of professional diligence on your side, and we have a legal requirement laid down in the Article 5 of the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive. The Unfair Commercial Practices Directive imposes an obligation on all traders to refrain from misleading consumers about, for example, the qualities, the intrinsic beneficial qualities of the product they sell by either action or omission. And I stress the omission part because I think it's what really makes this legislation particularly innovative. Often consumers are simply not told. They were not told that, there were good benefits or whatever, but they were simply not told that there could have been side effects, there could have been dangerous, let's say, implication if you were misusing the product. This is something that can be sanctioned under European law, and in a moment I come also to the mechanism through which this can be sanctioned. The third element is that all traders operating in Europe are requested to refrain from inserting clauses in the contract which are unclear or otherwise unfair. I think this is the point where we would all easily agree very little enforced principle, because I think we've all been going across in life through contracts which contain very lengthy and difficult to understand standard terms and conditions. Well, again, using this kind of practice exposes the trader to higher risks of being sanctioned if challenged in front of courts. And the fourth principle, which I consider extremely important, is that we have indeed legislation which is of a more restricted scope, I would say, but which protects also other traders, other companies that are buying from manufacturers, in the sense that it prohibits traders to mislead other traders by promoting their offers. So I can, as a trader, if I've been misled by a competitor or a different supplier, go to authorities that exist in different member states or tribunals and claim that I've been trapped into a contract that actually I did not want. Now, as I said before, what is important to underline is that all these principles act as safety net rules compared to the sector-specific ones that we've just seen in the previous slides. A word more on the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, which we call in our little jargon in the Commission the UCPD. Some data which are very, very recent, they stem from the 2015 Consumer Conditions Scoreboard. So it's a bi-yearly scoreboard that we produce in order to test the degree of consumer satisfaction with the kind of products which are circulating on the market. And you will see that there are still a lot of dissatisfaction with the fact that consumers continue to receive a lot of persistent, unsolicited commercial calls or messages. This is a practice which is banned. It's a blacklisted practice under the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive. They receive advertisements which falsely state that the product is only available for a very limited period of time. This is something that qualifies as aggressive selling, again something which is not allowed under the UCPD. They receive advertisements about products which are pretended, allegedly free of charge, when actually, when you want to make use of these products, you find out that they do entail some charges, and sometimes rather substantial ones. This graphic really aims to show to you that on the one hand there is a widespread typology of unfair commercial practices still in place, and on the other way around, if you see there is a blue and a red column, well, the blue column points to problems that, sorry, I should have pointed to the red and the green column. The red column points to problems that are happening domestically, nationally, within our member states. The green ones are those that are happening cross-border, so the trader was somewhere else. So it shows that there's still a lot of work to be done, I would say particularly domestically, but of course we're also trying to support a lot the solution of problems cross-border, and the fact that there is a specific mechanism to assist to solve cross-border cases could be one of the reasons why there are a little bit less. Indeed, I said at the beginning of the presentation that we are in a topical moment because the day before yesterday we have adopted a big e-commerce package, the European Commission. It comes as a further deliverables to the digital single market strategy, which is now one of the priority of the President Juncker's Commission. And in that package we put several things. The ones to which I want to draw particularly your attention are a communication on platforms, because I understand I'm addressing myself to an audience of people, some of whom, or all of whom will at some stage or are already traders selling their products. We all know what is the increasing role that sales through big platforms like eBay, Amazon, name it, are taking. And this communication tries to map what are the problems identified so far, what is also the very positive role that these platforms have been playing so far for the European economy, but also what are the challenges. The other important deliverable is indeed the review of the CPC regulation. What is the CPC regulation? Well, we have a network of consumer protection authorities across the 28 member states. And this is precisely the network I was referring before to. It's the network that oversees the quality of transaction happening cross-border. If I know that in Bulgaria, say, there is a trader that has widespread practices of misleading consumers, and actually I found out that this trader is based in Germany, I can, thanks to this regulation, introduce a specific request to the German authorities to look into the activities of this trader, and we are increasing by this regulation the individual powers of the consumer protection authorities, which will go up to having a possibility to shut down the website of this trader, take injunctions measures, increase the level of penalties, etc. So it's a rather effective mechanism that we are trying to make even more robust, because we see, especially when it comes to online challenges, an increasing emergence of problems of traders operating cross-border that impact several millions, sometimes, of consumers at the same time. And last but not least, the deliverable that I wanted to point your attention to is the revised guidance on the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, a document which is now available on our website, which is going to be translated very soon in all languages, and which I would invite you to have a look at, because it tries with very practical examples also to point to traders across Europe what are the things not to be done, if I may say, and also the good practices that one can draw inspiration from in order to make sure that the way in which he or she presents its offers to consumers is, I would say, generating trust rather than mistrust, and keeping high level of satisfaction. So as I said, the aim is to develop an even more uniform and consistent application of the European rules which are already there, which are a little bit underused, let's face it, and to boost the enforcement cooperation mechanism cross-border as well. There is an entire chapter of the new guidance of the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive that deals specifically with platforms. examples, by the way. Maybe, can I ask this question to the audience? E-commerce. Who else is using e-commerce to sell goods or services or present its offers? No one else? You're all still in the physical world. So how do you approach your customers, or are you selling rather to businesses? May I ask? You, sir? No? Anyone who would like to tell me how you are currently developing your business model or planning to develop it? No?
It's all academic.
It's only academics. Okay, so that's why.
We sell the culture.
Voila, only culture. In any event, what we are repeating in the guidance is really the key principles that we have been touching upon before. First of all, that anyone who is qualified as a trader, that a forum platform included, if and to the extent that they are traders, they often are, must always comply with the applicable rules. They are subject to the requirements of professional diligence and transparency that I've been hinting to before. And this is a very important point for us because it's a source of a lot of frustration based on the kind of cases that we see that must enable the third-party traders, who could be the gentleman sitting in the back row there, to not only comply with the consumer law, but make sure that consumers understand with whom they're concluding the contract. This is today a real problem. Many people are buying goods or services through Amazon, Netflix, or other platforms, and actually they are under the impression that they have a direct contract with the platform. When there is a problem, however, often the platform says, no sir, you didn't buy from me, you bought from that or that or that other individual trader that is operating for me. So we would like really to make best possible use of the current transparency requirement and require platform to be more transparent. And this is what we mentioned also in this last slide, about the way they design their web structures. So, on this note, I would also, before thanking you for your attention, I would also like to point to things. We are very much aware that both consumers and traders in many countries continue to be very little aware of both the rules of the game that are already in place and how to adjust their behavior. It is for these reasons that we've launched between 2014 and 2016 an awareness raising campaign which has been going through many European countries, 14 to be precise. I brought with me today, just for the pleasure of you to get a little bit of a color from material, a leaflet that explains in rather synthetic manners key things you should know when you are either a consumer or a trader. And we are also working right now on specific training modules that are particularly conceived for micro companies, small micro companies, which will be online modules. You were saying before, Professor Vassiliala, that this is the new way of training. We believe into that as well. We would like that they explain in a very simple and simple manner to anyone who is willing to engage into presenting its products and services in Europe, how to construct or run its website, how to make sure that all the required information is presented in a manner which is easy to understand for the consumer, so that you diminish the level of risk of problems and make sure that trust remains, which is at the end of the day what we all want in this delicate sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, there is one question?
Yes. Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Can I ask, what is the concrete measure you undertake to fight the delivery of products from outside Europe that are either fake or not actually allowed in Europe, or there is no origin you can find? Because what I do not understand, you're in Europe and actually have access to all the products all over the world, illegal. I mean, 90% of the products provided on the internet are illegal, especially also when you look to food supplements. So you see providers from America, you see providers from Asia, especially Asia, Russia, etc. What are you concretely doing? Because so far, in all those years, there's a lot of talk about doing something, but these sites are still there, people still order, people still die from it. should not forget that food supplements, before the doctor also explained about it, many of these sites, they promised the sky. Especially when you look on sites for food supplements for cancer, for AIDS, you name it, they promise the sky. But so far, I don't see any action coming from the European Commission to actually stop the provision of such information. There is no agreement with any of these governments to shut down those websites. There's none. What is being done? Because, okay, you had a very nice presentation, but I'm going to play the devil a bit. What is exactly being done to stop that?
Not only nice presentation, but also with a lot of comments.
You're pointing to the problem, to the real source of the problem, the way we see it. It's lack of enforcement. And the European Commission today has never had direct enforcement powers to go to trade and say stop this practice. This enforcement power rests with the member states, which is a very serious problem in Europe, because it means that we have indeed 28 different national enforcement authorities, and the way in which the market function is a little bit linked to their own individual enforcement capacity. You are also pointing to another thing, that you see that these food supplements get marketed through platforms, and you say some of those are illegal. Well, the good way to proceed...
Deadly. I'll put it like that. Deadly.
Yeah.
When I say illegal, purely deadly.
You know that there are European legal bases for action. Marketing illegal content is amongst other banned through the e-commerce directive. So even if the platform says, I'm not a trader myself, so I don't follow, I'm a mere intermediary, I'm just a hosting service provider. Upon a notification that can come from a consumer organization, from you, from a national authority, that there is a deadly content marketed on their website, they must immediately take it down. However, this is very little enforced. And it's precisely for this reason that I'm telling you, as far in particular the consumer protection part is concerned, we have adopted the day before yesterday a reform of the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network. This is the network of the 28 consumer protection authorities whose powers are going to be much more strengthened. And for the very first time, that regulation contains a very important article that says that in case of a major alert of which we become aware, and you could be the one that makes us aware, the Commission can itself launch an action, which means it doesn't have direct enforcement power, but it will basically request formally the enforcement authority to take an action. Because this power we don't have today. This is an area which is very different from competition law. I don't know whether you're familiar with competition cases, where the Commission has direct powers to look after Google and impose sanctions. There is a treaty legal basis for doing that. In the area of consumer protection, like in the area of environmental protection, the majority of all other areas of European law, we can draw the legislation, but then it's up to the member states to make sure that they're acting properly.
I will give you an example. There is Google has been forced actually to hide certain search results, right? Now, Google has been forced to hide certain search results. When you look, for example, for certain products, search results are hidden. You're aware of that, I guess. Yes. Now, you go to the bottom of the search results, and then you follow the reason why the search results are not shown. You click on it, and you get all the search results that are hidden. You click on it, and you access it. So, actually, nothing is hidden. Everything stays the same. That's what I'm saying. Till today, also when you look on the internet, when you look for this product, you find 10,000 of websites. You cannot expect that every country, let's say little Belgium here, that Belgium will start following up on all those kind of projects and all those ones. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the power even to empower that. That's my main point. This is something from a European level. It's not practical, it's not implementable. I don't see the Americans shutting down all their websites, have you? It's just a question. Has there been any agreement with the American government to shut down all their websites that provide supplements which are actually dangerous? Has there been any agreement with China to shut down all their websites? There is agreement about counterfeit and etc. There are no actions following from that. That's my main comment. So there is a legislation in place, etc., but on the practice level, there is no result.
May I counter ask you, have you filed a formal complaint?
Well, my business is also active in electronic music. We have filed thousands of complaints, 0 results. 0. Because one site is shut down, within a week another site pops up. We are a small company, we do not have the resources to put hundreds of people on there to start filling through Google to find all the illegal websites. So have we filed a complaint? Thousands.
The reform that has been just put in place, in my view, is an excellent step into the direction that you are dreaming of together with me, and hopefully will no longer just be a dream but a reality. Because we are extremely aware of the difficulty of tackling, challenges that are happening all the time through different websites. You shut one, as you said, and another one gets open. That's why this new reform, and please take a look at the press release of the European Commission, find the detail, you will see the legislative proposal itself, contains for the very first time not only a mechanism through which the European Commission will coordinate the enforcement action of the authorities in a much more stringent manner, but also significantly increases the enforcement powers of individual consumer protection authorities, because they were already obliged by the previous regulation to have a certain amount of minimum powers, but we saw that there were too many discrepancies. So, for example, not all of them, even today, have a possibility to order the shutdown of a website, which sometimes is the only really effective measure to take vis-à-vis a certain harm. This proposal is going to remedy this. It's going really to much more harmonize the enforcement rules, and it was long due and long needed. Now we will be engaging for, I hope, no more than 1 year, 1.5 years, in a negotiation process with Council and Parliament, and hopefully this will very soon become the new way of working. In the meantime, the Commission has not been staying on its laurels. We have been launching no less than 3 joint enforcement actions together with the consumer protection authorities, one of which, in a specific sector, you will tell me, has brought already very tangible results. In particular, it's the action against Google and Apple that were marketing games to children containing in-apps, telling to consumers that those were all free. There was a little box telling to consumers this is a free download, and then when we were starting playing the game, we found that there were a lot of additional charges coming up. Children have been at times letting their parents spend thousands of euros because they were buying all the little additional things that were appearing, which were presented in a very misleading manner. This has been changed as a result of an action. We have been carrying action in the area of car rentals, and other actions are in the pipeline, and I cannot disclose them. So there is a new movement, and that's why I think it's so important also for you that you get up to the pace, be aware of the legislative framework you're working under, and voila, that we are united in making sure that only the good quality products stay in Europe. And let me tell you, I was provocative on the question of the complaints because I'm working 5 years in this sector, and I've so far received 1 single complaint from a business, not even company, organization. I don't like the attitude that I see sometimes from businesses to complain a lot, but then not to have the capacity, the power to introduce files. And I'm happy to hear that you do not belong to this group, but we receive a lot of complaints from citizens and very few from businesses. So this is also a culture that needs to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very important what you say, and I would like to stress the importance when we check on Google or on the internet for validated information. This is the role of the professionals, and this is the role of the governments and the recognized institutions. Thank you very much. And now it's time.